What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have some stuff to get into today. It was kind of a slower day yesterday for the most part, but of course, I did that video on the Resident Evil 7 that was coming to the Switch in Japan. I made that video pretty much as it was breaking, but I was very interested in how people were going to react to it. Saw everything yesterday that was going down, so we're going to talk about that a bit, and we're also going to talk about Capcom making a very interesting last-minute change to the Mega Man Legacy Collection box art. Seriously, last minute to the point where we didn't know about it until somebody actually bought it from a store early. And there's going to be some other stuff we're going to get into as well, including a surprising UK sales charts. Now, before we get into the bigger stuff, I wanted to get into some of the little things as well. That includes an interesting Battlefield 5 teaser. Now, if you don't know Battlefield 5, Battlefield V, I think it's like V for victory or something. It's all over the place. We're getting a full reveal, of course, on the 23rd, so we'll have that tomorrow to look at. And we're actually going to be live streaming it here. It's going to be a lot of fun. That is at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, May 23rd. But they did a teaser on Twitter. People kind of freaked out because it did look like, yeah, a lot of those leaks end up being correct, because it does appear to be in like a World War II setting, which is going to be fun. I'm sure there's going to be probably a campaign, considering they have apparently, allegedly, been laughing at the Call of Duty leaks that turned out to be true with no campaign and Battle Royale. So it does seem like Battlefield, so far, has at least had Call of Duty's number in terms of what they wanted Call of Duty to be this year as competition. So we're going to see, I guess, what they have to offer. But again, come by here. We'll be live streaming it, having some fun, just to kind of see what they have to offer. Also, you may have seen online, everyone's making jokes about the Xbox One reveal when they first showed it, because the 5-year anniversary was yesterday.
Watch TV. 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 Watch TV. 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 TV remote.
And yeah, everyone's making jokes. I mean, when they first showed it off, it was not a very good presentation. And of course, that led into the Xbox One just having one of the worst, really worst reveals compared to the PlayStation 4 when that came out. And they revealed that it was cheaper. You could do the whole used game thing. They made sure to really stick that to Microsoft. Remember that? The commercials were amazing. How to share a used game. They just handed it to them. That was seriously one of the most lopsided times in gaming. And of course, it set the stage for what this generation has been, which has pretty much been Sony dominance. Now, what happens next generation, we'll have to see, because up until that point, Microsoft was kind of on top, you know. The 360 was riding high, had a great generation, so you never know what can happen between generations. So guys, with all of that out of the way, let's get started. So Resident Evil 7 is going to the Switch. I talked about this in that video. You can check it out. A very quick rundown. It's coming out on the 24th, so in a couple days it'll be available in Japan. It's only going to be in Japanese. There won't be an English language option or anything like that, so it's mostly, as you could tell, geared towards the Japanese audience, because it appears that it's going to be region restricted, I guess, in Japan, as it's going to be streamed. Now, this isn't the first game on the Switch to do this. Phantasy Star Online, which is an online-only game, it's an MMO, that makes sense why it really hasn't caused a stir, is doing it. And Resident Evil 7 is a little different, because of course it's fully single player, so you're playing offline with other systems, you're playing online with the Switch, it's required. It's basically $18, 2,000 yen, you get 180 days, so half a year you'll have it, and it's basically a rental service. Now, of course, you can beat it several times in 180 days, that shouldn't be an issue, but it more so comes down to the fact that they are streaming this game rather than just outright developing it and selling it as they are with other systems. Now, why is that the case? I'm not sure. Maybe it's not ready yet, maybe they can't do it. Who knows? It's very odd, though, because they are the ones, allegedly, that asked for 4 gigabytes of RAM rather than what we assume to be 3 gigabytes, as is what the NVIDIA Shield TV has. But Capcom appears to be streaming their game to it, and a lot of people seem confused. They don't really know why this is the case. Well, in Japan, it's much easier to run these kind of things instead of like a global scale. When you get in the United States, it's a mess with internet connections. Seriously, there are so many different areas have different connections. In my area, if I drive 3 miles like north, I all of a sudden run into Fios and all these other providers that give me a gigabit up and gigabit down, and I had to fight really hard to get gigabit down and like 40 or 50 up here. So it's very, very weird. It's very spread out, and it is so hard to know what kind of internet you're going to have at any different point in the United States. Really, it's that bad around the United States. Whereas in Japan, it's much less scattered, and their internet is technically better on a reliability standpoint, and really just in terms of average speed. And it's not surprising for that. South Korea pretty much leads the way, but even Japan isn't the best internet in the world, with several other countries ahead of them as well. So it's just, it's easier for them to do it there than on a global scale, but I'm still interested as to why they are doing that. Maybe they are developing for the Switch and they just decided, you know, let's put it out, let's get it streaming, and let's do this because it's easier to do in Japan. I don't know. But like I said, the reaction online was interesting, to say the least. A lot of people figured that's how they're going to do all their games now, and you know, this is just a step forward for it. A lot of people are wondering if a bunch of games that maybe can't run on the Switch are going to use a streaming service. I doubt it, to be honest. I don't think it'll get to that point unless the internet takes a massive step forward globally or everywhere else in every market. I don't think you're going to see that. For example, if you look at NVIDIA has their own service where they can stream to things like the NVIDIA Shield, and you don't even need a computer to do it. They have their own service that you can do, but they give you requirements. So they want to tell you about what kind of speeds you need for certain resolutions or frame rates. And for example, 50 megabits per second gets 1080p at 60. That's something that we're kind of starting to really expect with our systems when it comes to the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One X. We gotta expect 1080 60, right? That shouldn't be an issue. But to have 50 megabits available for that, and then you have data caps and throttling, and it's not a pretty picture for that. 720 at 60, you're looking for like 20 megabits per second. So you can see how some people might be left out of that. So no, I don't think any company would rely on good internet connections to get people in their game. They'd rather it be, if it's a full single player, even a multiplayer, they want everything to be local so they don't have all these issues and really, alienate a good chunk of their user base. So no, you probably won't see this for most games, really, at all. MMOs at least make the most sense because you have to be connected anyway, but you're not going to see it for any games outside of that. This seems almost like a test for Capcom in Japan. I don't think it's coming out of there. If anything, they'll just develop it straight up for the system. And Capcom, of course, just continues to confuse people. And the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2, it's out today. You can go pick it up, or you can just download it. I'm going to probably buy it physically, but I really don't know really why most people would, because the second one is still technically a download even if you buy it physically. The first one, which is the smallest part of the game, it's a couple hundred megabytes, is on a cartridge, whereas the second one that's a little larger is a download code. So, you know, yay, Capcom. Anyway, Capcom being cheap aside, they decided to remove that massive white banner at the top. Do you remember that? It's like the ugly banner that's on all these Switch games that are requiring a download. It's a major eyesore on cover art. And someone actually picked it up, took a picture and said, hey, there's no white banner on this. Now, if you go to the bottom, it says very small, very hard to miss text that you need a download or an internet connection for the second game, Legacy Collection 2. So you still need to download it. The removal of that white bar kind of made some people think, oh, maybe they just put everything on the cartridge. Maybe you don't have to download anything. No, it still needs to be downloaded, but they just took that off of there. And what's going to be interesting about this, I like the idea, right? I like the idea of taking that white bar off because it's really ugly looking, to be honest, and it's frustrating, but that white bar does serve a purpose for consumers who aren't maybe as plugged in. It tells them straight up, and trust me, as someone who's worked in retail, selling somebody Destiny, when it says internet connection required right on the front, even though it's smaller text, it has a bar across going and everything, they don't see it and they take it home, they realize they can't play it. If they don't have internet connection, they come back, try to return it. It's a whole thing, right? It really is. And this is going to happen probably. People will probably get frustrated. So I think the best solution for this is to have a reversal cover art without that white bar. I think that's a pretty simple one. Sure, Capcom would have to double-side print the thing, but it would pretty much appease fans who buy it physically, don't want that big white bar on it, and it would technically help out consumers who aren't as plugged in. Basically, we just know, okay, we get it, we can flip it around, boom, there's the cover art we want. So it looks like they're just not going to do that. I thought that was a requirement, to be honest. I thought Nintendo was requiring these places. I guess not. I guess they were just deciding to. So, hey, maybe we won't have those white bars on all of our cover arts. Let me know if you think that's a bad thing or a good thing, because that could throw some people big time. Maybe you buy it and you're like, oh, I have everything here, and then you open up and you're like, what's this download code? Wait, I have to download 13 gigabytes to play this game? Well, I didn't expect that. Do you think that's going to be a bad thing, or do you think it's good because the cover art looks better now? Let me know about this one, guys, down in the comments. Next up, let's talk about Days Gone. It's the game that a lot of people look at and pretty much relate it to Last of Us because it does look pretty similar. In fact, most publications that checked out the demos, or very recently some places have checked out the demos, they of course showed us the alpha build and everything, keep relating it to The Last of Us. And it's not really what they're trying to be. It's trying to be kind of more of an open world style game. and they did push it to 2019, so it might come out in the same year as The Last of Us 2. We don't know yet. And if it does, it's definitely going to draw comparisons. In fact, if you look at different places, Eurogamer covered it. I believe, we know Game Informer, of course, covered it because they had the whole lowdown on the alpha gameplay and everything. But for example, Eurogamer wrote up a whole thing and they talked about how it's very, very empty. It's a very empty world when they were playing it, but they kept really talking about The Last of Us 2. And if you look at the footage of it, it does look kind of rough right now, but this is, of course, alpha footage they're showing us. They still have quite a while to go. This is Sony Bend Studio. It's the same people who did like Siphon Filter, for example, and they have time, but I am concerned about Days Gone, as I think a lot of people are right now. The fact that they pushed it back a year when we heard it was coming out in 2018. They even had it on their website until one day, boom, 2019. And it's coming up closer and closer to Last of Us 2. This is going to be compared to a lot of Sony's first-party games, and I think even if it's decent, it's still going to get kind of run over by some of the gems that they've put out now with things like God of War, and we assume Last of Us 2 and probably Spider-Man. It's going to get kind of run over. So I'm a little concerned right now at Days Gone. You guys have to let me know what you think of the alpha footage that we saw before, and you've probably seen some of it here as well while I'm talking, because I'm concerned about this game, and I really wanted it to be good, but the more I see it, the more bland and same it's kind of looking like some of the other Sony properties. It doesn't seem to have its own identity or its own character yet, but it still has a lot of time in development. Like I said, it's not coming out till next year. It could even be late next year, so we'll see. This was out footage. We'll give them some time, and when we see it again, hopefully late next year, maybe at E3, it looks hopefully like it has just a bit more character. It could stand out more. In our last bit of news, let's talk about the UK sales charts. There's a bit of a surprising couple of games on there based on what we've heard from the internet, of course, right? I like to always say it's the vocal minority, but some of these sales charts that we're seeing that are coming out, early from the UK sales charts, we'll see some other ones from Media Creates and other places as we go forward. MPDs are actually happening later on tonight, which will be in tomorrow's news wave, where we'll see a very straight picture of where everything's placing. But these are the UK sales charts for this previous week. Take a look at the top 10. God of War, by the way, 5th week at number 1, which is great to see. FIFA 18, not surprising. FIFA is tremendously popular in the UK, as we'd expect. Look at number 3, though. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, a Wii U game that was ported for $60 that everyone said, obviously, is why is that coming out? Well, it's because, as I've told people before, the Switch user base is probably more people that did not own the Wii U and less people that did. Seriously, that user base, and honestly, even people who own the Wii U may actually be buying Hyrule Warriors again, to be honest. This is a definitive edition, comes with everything in it, great. But there you go, number 3 on the UK sales charts, and check this out. Tropical Freeze only dropped 2 spots to number 4. And of course, one of the things that knocked him down a peg was Hyrule Warriors, the new game. So that is very impressive for Tropical Freeze, as both of those games are still above Far Cry 5, which is a very good selling game from Ubisoft. They actually knocked all the way down number 5 from those games. Lego Marvel Super Heroes 2, Assassin's Creed Origins, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a great seller in the UK, pretty much everywhere, obviously. It's always in upper sales charts. Grand Theft Auto 5, and then Call of Duty WW2 rounds out the top 10. If you're curious for things like the Nintendo Labo, which is something that everybody keeps an eye on, that's all the way down number 25. That is up actually from the 27th spot. That robot kit's been off that chart, these charts forever now. That's probably one of the worst selling parts of Labo because it's so expensive and it's frustrating to put together. But I guess when you put it together, it's, fun for some people. The Variety Kit is obviously a better value for what you get. So is this surprising that the Wii U ports are selling well? Probably not. No, they were good games to begin with, and a lot of people own the Switch now. Didn't have these games, obviously, and if they didn't own a Wii U, and I think most of them probably didn't own a Wii U, the Switch is obviously tapping into more of the mainstream, or people who just left the Wii and went to other systems and didn't even touch the Wii U. There are a lot of games they missed out on. Now, I understand why Wii U owners are a little frustrated because all of these Wii U ports are coming, but they're kind of filling out the front half of the year as they get to E3. E3 apparently is going to be all 2018 games, or mostly 2018 games according to Nintendo's PR. So we're going to probably see a lot of games that are coming out in the back half of the year. So it sounds like the front half has been for people who missed out on Wii U games. So nothing majorly new there for people who owned a Wii U. But if you didn't, you're probably in heaven right now because you're playing some great games, obviously. Now the back half is where things will get interesting after E3 in a couple weeks. We'll see what is in store for us for 2018. We have an idea. Smash Bros, Fire Emblem, Pokemon probably, and Yoshi, and then some others. We'll see what else we have. God of War is going to be probably one of the best selling really first-party Sony games this generation. Honestly, it is a 5th straight week in the UK that it's number 1. And we're going to see the MPDs. We already had a clear early signs, the MPDs, with it absolutely crushing it. So there you go, guys. The Wii U ports, while there is a vocal minority online that do not like them, it seems like a lot of people are voting with their wallets, and they want to play these games. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Whether it is the UK sales charts, are you surprised that the Wii U games that really are just being ported from last generation to the Switch are selling well? Or are you kind of expecting it because you know those games were good, but you know that Wii U user base just wasn't there, right? And seriously, the thing topped out at like 13.5 million units over like 4 or 5 years. So it wasn't exactly flying off shelves, right? When most of these games came out, it didn't really have even half of that, right? So it's not surprising to me, as the Switch is obviously flying off the shelves, much larger user base. So these games are already outselling their Wii U counterparts very, very quickly. Trust me, when Mario Kart does it on the Switch and it outsells the Wii U version, yeah, these ones will as well, I think. Also, what do you think about Days Gone? I see a lot of people unsure, concerned about it even. I think it's probably going to be one of the weaker entries from Sony's first-party studios, but it's tough when you're trying to live up to things like God of War. Really, it's not going to be easy, but hey, they still have plenty of time to work on it, so we'll see. And what about Capcom? The whole streaming Resident Evil 7 thing, the whole thing with the Mega Man box art, really the whole thing with Mega Man in general, making you download that second one. It's frustrating for me, definitely as someone who likes to kind of collect physical stuff and the Mega Man stuff. Anyway, guys, if you're new here, consider subscribing. We do a lot of technology and video game news, do it every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and then we do breaking news as well. And then we have some fun building different things as well. We actually just built that SNES Classic Raspberry Pi, which is a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.